Small Stories from Life Part 4. Here is the first story, Dealing with Praise and Blame. One of the inevitable lessons of life is how to deal with disagreement from others. Praise and blame are similar in that they remind you of the fact that you can never please everyone. In any situation, notice that even in an election where a candidate wins with 55% of the vote, 45% of voters still want someone else to win. We do not always receive approval from family, friends, colleagues, or people around us because each person has their own standards for evaluating life. As well as people and standards of one person are not always the same as another. However, most of us do not accept this obvious truth. We get angry, hurt, or discouraged when others reject our views, are denied approval in one way or another. It is this failure to accept the truth that makes us fall into confusion and sometimes even condemn and fight fiercely against disagreements. When you accept criticism as a normal part of life, you will certainly build a more positive outlook on life. On the road of life, instead of feeling rejected by those criticisms, think that you are still cared for, and thanks to those words you will improve yourself, and every time you receive a compliment, accept it with an attitude of surprise mixed with satisfaction or gratitude. In life, I receive compliments and criticisms. Some people like my speeches, some do not. There are phone calls that bring good news, but sometimes it is a troublesome announcement that needs to be resolved. Even my children are the same. Some like their father's profession, some do not care at all. Some say I am a lovable person, others say I am not careful, etc. There is a reciprocity. Sometimes there is not. Praise and criticism are part of life. Of course, we all like praise more than criticism, but the more contented we are with our lives, the less we are influenced by praise and criticism, and life will be better because of it. Remember, the Tower of Pisa only became famous after it was leaning. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the second story, take a deep breath. This is actually an exercise that helps you listen better. It helps you increase your patience, clear your mind, and broaden your horizons. As a result, you will gain more respect and sympathy from others. This method suggests that whenever you intend to interrupt someone else, calmly take a long, deep breath. This therapy seems simple but brings unexpected results. Deep breathing reminds you to control your actions. Listen patiently until the other person finishes speaking and keep the calmest attitude even if they can make you angry. Deep breathing is also a way for you to relax and regulate your body while listening to others. You feel that sometimes because the other person talks too much or expresses a point of view that you do not agree with, you want to react immediately, or at least you secretly get angry. It is not good to keep those negative emotions inside. It is like a poison that silently eats away at your sense of happiness, and what you can do to get rid of those toxins is to bring yourself back into balance by breathing regularly. Try it once and you will feel the difference in your state of an open heart. Deep breathing reminds you to take control of your actions. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the third story, don't sweat the small stuff. We often get overly affected by things that are not really that big of a deal. We tend to focus on incidents, trivial worries, and blow them up. For example, when you are driving on the road and another car cuts in front of your car, instead of ignoring it, you think you have the right to get angry and start making a big deal out of it in your own mind. Many people even keep it in their hearts and tell others about it instead of forgetting it. Why can't we just let it go? Why can't we calm down enough to find a reason to have a more sympathetic view of them, like thinking they missed a flight, a train, or were on their way to save someone, etc., so they did such a careless act. That way we will feel more relaxed and life will be more beautiful. Many of these little things happen every day. Whether you have to wait in line, hear unfair criticism, or have to complete a little more work than your co-workers, you would certainly feel much better if you didn't have to accept these little things. Many people waste their life energy on the little things that they forget the magic of life around them. So only when you commit to acting on the criteria of rising above the little things, can you enjoy life in a peaceful and serene way. Don't collect the little things. Here we would like to end this story.
Followed by the fourth story, don't be a perfectionist. I have never met a person who is both a perfectionist and has a truly peaceful inner life. The desire for perfection and inner peace are always at odds with each other. Whenever we insist that something or other must be better than we think it is, we are fighting a losing battle instead of being content with the best we have. We notice that there is something wrong with us that needs to be fixed to be perfect, and after examining every aspect and finding nothing, we feel disappointed and dissatisfied with ourselves, even if it is a personal matter. A messy room, a scratch on the car, an unsatisfactory result at work, unstable health or related to other people's imperfections, their appearance, their behavior, their way of life. Focusing on those shortcomings will make us unable to become generous people. In fact, there is always a better way to solve a problem does not mean you cannot enjoy and be grateful for what you have. In its essence, the solution here is that you need to restrain yourself from the habit of everything could have been better in another way. Once you stop judging, everything will be better, and when you stop looking for perfection to the point of perfection in every problem, you will realize that life is a synthesis of all things and relationships that complement each other, and it is perfect in its own way. Thank you for listening.
Followed by the fifth story, avoid the ripple effect. Negative thinking and vague feelings of insecurity can quickly make you lose control in many situations in life. Have you ever felt stressed when your train of thought is interrupted, and when this happens it makes you even more agitated? When you wake up in the middle of the night and suddenly remember that you have a call to make the next day, and then instead of feeling relieved that you remembered the important call, you start thinking about everything you have to do tomorrow. You rehearse the conversation with your boss in your head, and then you get even more anxious, and then you think to yourself that you can't believe how busy you are. I have to make 50 phone calls a day. Whose life is this anyway? And think about all sorts of things until you feel sorry for yourself. For many people, these thoughts seem endless and can be seen as meaningful rehearsals of your life will never be at peace with a head full of worries and frustrations. The solution is to pay attention to what is going on in your head before you let the flow of thoughts flow. The sooner you realize when you start to create a mental snowball, the easier it will be to stop each time you visualize your to-do list for tomorrow, meaning your snowball thoughts are starting to kick in. Then instead of obsessing about tomorrow, tell yourself that it is here again and consciously nip it in the bud. You will not stop the flow of thoughts before it has a chance to start. This way you will feel more relieved and not too worried about the things to do the next morning. If you remember something in the middle of the night and are afraid you might forget it tomorrow, write it down on a piece of paper, and keep a pen and notebook by your bedside for similar situations. No matter how busy your life is, remember that letting your thoughts run wild will only make the problem worse, and you will be more stressed. Next time you feel yourself starting to obsess over work and busy thoughts, try this simple guide. You will be surprised at how effective it is. Here we would like to end this story. Thanks for listening. Hello, and see you again in Small Stories of Life Part 5.